It is March 4th, 2026. Right now, all around the world, tensions are simmering, and global leaders are watching every move. But behind all the headlines, there's this single, stark number that scientists are using to measure just how close we are to a global tipping point.
85 seconds. That's it. It's such a stark, almost uncomfortably specific number. So what does it even mean? What on earth is it counting down to? Well, it's the time on the doomsday clock. You see, since way back in 1947, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists has used this clock as a really powerful symbol for how close humanity is to a global catastrophe of our own making. Midnight, well, that's game over. And right now, at 85 seconds to midnight, we are the closest we have ever been. So, how in the world did we get here? Okay, let's really dive into this. To get a handle on the risk, we first have to understand the global power structure as it stands today. We're going to map out not just who the key players are, but maybe more importantly, where the world's most dangerous hotspots are. All right, so check this out. This is the 2026 Global Firepower Ranking. It calculates what's called a power index score. And the key thing to remember here is that a lower score means more conventional military power. A perfect zero is basically impossible. So, as you'd probably guess, the US, Russia, and China are sitting right there at the top. But look at the rest of the list. You've got India and a lot of key European and Asian allies. It really paints a picture of a very complex and delicate global balance of power.
So that's the who. Now let's talk about the where. When you talk to analysts, they consistently point to these four areas as the world's biggest potential flashpoints. Each one of these is just a volatile mix of deep history, huge economic interests, and the strategic goals of the major powers we just looked at. It creates this incredibly tangled web of high-stakes tension. To really see how these tensions play out, let's zoom in on just one of those flashpoints, the situation around Taiwan. It's a perfect case study for how modern conflict is changing, moving away from traditional battlefields and into what experts are now calling the gray zone. You know, the pressure here is absolutely immense, and it comes from the very, very top. This quote from a recent report just shows you the kind of direct, high-stakes diplomacy that's going on, a clear attempt to influence a superpower's foreign policy with a very blunt warning. But this pressure goes way beyond just stern phone calls. We're now seeing the rise of what people are calling cognitive warfare. Now, this isn't about tanks and soldiers. It's all about perception. It's a strategy that uses actions that aren't quite acts of war to confuse, to intimidate, and ultimately to weaken an opponent's ability to even see a threat clearly, let alone respond to it. And this is a perfect, almost sci-fi example of it. Analysts have found pretty solid evidence of what's called AIS signal spoofing near Taiwan. So here's how it works. An asset, maybe just a small boat, slips into a harbor. It then starts broadcasting fake ship identification signals. Suddenly, the tracking software shows phantom ships, like a Chinese Coast Guard vessel, that aren't actually there. The goal? It's not to attack. It's to create confusion, to make defenders doubt their own systems, and to slowly get them used to the idea of a threat being there, which just dulls their future reaction time. It's psychological. And this brings us right back around to that big arms sale. According to reports, the whole package is overwhelmingly defensive. We're talking about systems like the T-Dome. Think of it as a comprehensive missile defense shield. It's all designed to protect Taiwan from aerial threats and to strengthen its ability to resist exactly this kind of gray zone coercion we're talking about. It's about building a better shield, not sharpening the sword. Okay, so let's zoom back out from Taiwan to the big picture again. Given all these complex threats, from open warfare to cognitive warfare, how do analysts actually rate the overall risk of a major global conflict? And which nations are seen as being most likely to get dragged into one? This geopolitical risk analysis sorts nations based on their perceived chance of being involved in a major conflict down the road. And honestly, the high chance column has no real surprises, right? The United States, Russia, China, Iran, Israel, North Korea, they're all at the very center of the flashpoints we just identified. Then you have other major powers like India, the UK, and France sitting in that medium chance category. Now, I have to pause here because this is an absolutely critical point. This is an analysis of risk. It is not a prediction of war. Think of it like a weather forecast that warns of a high chance of thunderstorms. It doesn't mean lightning is definitely going to strike your house. It's about understanding pressure and vulnerability, not staring into a crystal ball. And that brings us full circle, right back to the doomsday clock.
Because just like that risk analysis, the whole point of the clock isn't to predict what's going to happen. It's to serve as a very stark, very loud, unmistakable warning. So why 85 seconds? Why that specific, terrifying number? Well, the scientists who set the clock point to a pretty grim cocktail of factors. You've got the hot wars still raging in places like Ukraine and the Middle East. You've got dangerous border skirmishes between nuclear armed states. But then you've got these newer, more destabilizing threats, like the explosion of AI in both military and information warfare. And on top of all of that is what they bluntly call a failure of leadership to get a handle on any of it. And this right here, this is the core message of the clock. It's not a scoreboard for who's winning or losing some great power game. It is simply a measure of our collective peril. It's designed to be a mirror, reflecting the danger we all live in, and hopefully to spark a real conversation about how we can reduce that danger. It's a call to action, not a reason to panic. Which of course leaves us with the one question that really matters. We've seen the powers, we've seen the flashpoints, and we've seen the reasons for the risk. We know the clock is ticking at 85 seconds. So what does it actually take to push the hands of that clock back? That's something for all of us to think about.